We have heard and read a lot about this food pyramid and how that's changed. There's a new food pyramid. What was wrong with the old food pyramid?
Right. Well, the old food pyramid was really based on the idea that fat is bad for us, and therefore we should load up on carbohydrates. And that there was really never any good evidence to support that. And we really have a lot of data now showing that the percentage of calories from the diet is really not critical. The type of fat is very important. In other words, eating the liquid unsaturated fats compared to trans fat and lard and butter and red meat, that makes a big difference. The main conventional wisdom underlying the high rates of obesity in Western countries in the nutrition world has been that it's a percentage of calories from fat in the diet that are the major causes of obesity. And other colleagues not very long ago were telling people that you can't get fat eating carbohydrates, you can only get fat eating fat. And I'm from the Midwest, so I know that farmers there know how to fatten up animals, and you don't feed them fat, you feed them grain, and you put them in a pen so they don't run around, and very predictably they fatten up. A study done in Israel, there were 3 different groups: low-fat diet, a sort of higher fat diet, and a Mediterranean diet, which was intermediate. And what was clear here, with equal intensity intervention, everybody lost some weight, but the regain was greatest in the low-fat group. And the studies that have used equal intensity intervention, none of them have shown an advantage to the low-fat diet, and several have shown a significant advantage to the higher fat diet. So clearly, low-fat is not beneficial in terms of weight control. But the Mediterranean and the higher fat diet actually did pretty well there. But also the type of carbohydrates important too, that most of what Americans eat is sugar, refined starch like white bread and white rice, or potatoes, which also behave like those refined starches, whereas whole grains, high fiber kinds of carbohydrate are actually pretty good for us.
What are some of the other factors that are leading to obesity?
It's interesting, if we look at the aspects of diet that contribute to obesity, it's not one single factor. The worst is sugary beverages like soda, your Coke and Pepsi. And if we look across the literature, the one factor that does show up study after study is sugary beverages being a problem with weight gain and obesity. In fact, if you look over time and look at the increase in energy intake, about half of that is due to sugary beverage consumption. This has been a major contributor to the increase in energy intake. There have been also several randomized trials. This one was done in schools in the UK. Classrooms were randomized to an intervention focused on reducing sugary beverage consumption, and the control group gained weight, and whereas the low sugary beverage consumption group maintained their weight is measured as prevalence of obesity. Other refined foods, again, like white rice, potatoes, French fries, high consumption of red meat, those all contribute to obesity. On the other hand, whole grains, fruits and vegetables, although fruit juices are like soda really, and nuts, those foods are related to less weight gain. So you put it all together, you really think of it not just as one food, but a whole plate, a whole market basket. And whether you fill it up with fruits, vegetables, nuts, whole grains versus soda, Wonder Bread, white rice, chips, that kind of stuff, that makes a huge difference in our likelihood of gaining weight and getting diabetes.
So it was interesting for me because, growing up, I'm Polish and potatoes, and that was always a mainstay on the table and in soups. But it was interesting that you said potatoes, a baked potato could be like drinking a Coke.
Right. Eating even a baked potato, just plain baked potato, has the same effect on our blood glucose, our blood sugar level, as does consuming a Coke. And we get a little bit of nutrition there that we don't get from Coke, but not enough to make up for all those calories that come along in a potato. Now, one big factor that's changed, that your grandfather, my grandfather grew up eating potatoes, but they were out working in the fields too, digging those potatoes, and so they were really active, they were really lean, and they could get away with eating potatoes in those amounts. But you or I, we've been sitting through a meeting. We don't have that same level of physical activity that our grandparents did, and we can't tolerate the same foods that they did.